So with the ISB PGP R1 deadline coming up on 10th September, today we have brought the application walkthrough for the ISB PGP application for the 24-25 intake. So let's get started with this application form. First and foremost, go through the application instructions. Towards the end of the instructions, this page will give you important information with respect to the dates and deadlines. And towards the end, there will also be a very important information about the size of the the photograph that has to be uploaded. So please make sure that you already have the photograph in the same format. Additional information that is going to be important from this section apart from others is the GMAT or the GRE test code. So the second important point to get started is the terms and conditions. Please do go through the terms and conditions. They again give you a lot of clarification of the process that the admissions team will follow. And towards the end of this particular pop-up, you'll have a accept button uh, which you need to check, and then you can close this. And a few tools which are going to be important throughout this process are going to be your application inspector. So this application inspector is this window where it tells you at what stage the application process is and how far you have filled in the application. So if you look at this application inspector, you can see that there are some things which are marked as complete and some are optional. So unless all of these are green on your tab, you will not be able to submit your application. You can see that I have some sections which are still incomplete towards the submission. So these are the three things that you'll see: the green, the blue, and the red, which will be markers for you to look into while you are filling up the application form. So the first section of the application is your applicant details. Here you need to put in uh, your status in terms of the location, the current location, plus also if you are a reapplicant. So if you are a PGP or an early entry option reapplicant, you need to mark this out over here. Yeah, so you also need to check which year you had applied to previously, all the years in case there are multiple applications, and put in the application reference number. If you don't remember your application reference number, you can get in touch with the email address provided by the school to uh, discuss this and trace the number. Another important information is that if you were an ISB YLP applicant and now you are applying to the PGP or the early entry option, then you will not be considered as a reapplicant for the sake of this application. At every point in this application form for the ISB PGP, preview and save is the button that you have to click when you are in this process, and the next is save and continue. So do make sure that whatever it's a very lengthy form, and whatever information you're already putting in, that needs to go that needs to be saved from time to time, and these are the two buttons that are going to be important for you to do that. The personal details need to be added, which include your passport number or your Aadhaar card number, the gender, date of birth, marital status, country of citizenship, and your first name, etc. These details will come from the initial form that you had filled while creating the account. Again, preview and save and continue. Next, fill in the alternate email or alternate mobile number that you want to add for the school to contact you, and the location details, your mailing address, and you can also say whether you need. So you have this is also your permanent address, or you have a different permanent address. You can add that information over here as well. Preview and save and continue. This brings us to the family details section. The family details section is about sharing information about your father, your mother, and your spouse, if applicable. So would you like to skip these details? This is optional. You can always do that. Or if you would like to add that information, you can just go in, say, no, I would not like to skip that, and add the name, first name, last name, their education, occupation, and then going forward, there is more information that is required. So if it is working is the option that you are selecting. Then you have to add your father's employer designation, email address, as well as contact number. If you're selecting retired, if this is the option, then you need to say where he has retired from, what was the designation that he retired at, and which year, and his email address as well as contact number. If your parent is a homemaker, then you just need to add the contact details. So this is the information which is required in the family details section. So the next important section is your GMAT or GRE score. Over here, you have two checkboxes, GMAT or GRE. You can either select one or you can select both also. In case you want to send both your GMAT or GRE score, feel free to do that. You need to add the test date, appointment number, GMAT ID. So appointment number is the appointment number, not the GMAT ID that you need to add. GMAT ID is a separate field which is added below that. One point to note over here is, for example, today is 25th of August and you are planning to write the test on 6th or 7th of September for the 10th September deadline. Then in that case, you will not be able to fill in that date over here. You need to come back to this form after you have written your GMAT or GRE and then fill in the detail once again. Add the email address which is associated with your GMAT or your GRE account. Then add your scores. For the analytical writing scores, in case you don't have analytical writing scores, then you just can leave it blank. And in case you don't have IR scores, just mark a 0 in this. And also add the date when you had requested the official score report to be delivered to ISB. This is for your GMAT test. Now coming to the GRE test. So now for the GRE as well, if you are writing your GRE test at a later date from the current date, then that cannot be added right now. You need to come back to this form after you have completed your test and then add those details here. Otherwise, you can just add the date that the test was taken, your GRE registration number, the email address which is associated with your GRE test score report, and then the verbal quant scores and the AWA scores. If you do not have an AWA score, for example, if it is an unofficial test score report, you might not have the AWA, then you just leave this section blank. And also add the date when you requested the official score report to be sent to ISB. So the next test score that you need to add is your language proficiency. Add the languages that you have, that you are well versed with. You can separate them with a comma if you have more. And also need to mark over here if the medium of instruction for your undergraduate study or your bachelor's degree was English or not. If it was English, nothing more needs to be done. If it was not English, then you need to write the IELTS or the TOEFL score. You can also submit both the IELTS and the TOEFL score similar to the GMAT and the GRE. You will get the test options over here. You need to add the test, the date that the test was taken at, the total scores that you received, and also the date when you sent, when you requested the official report to go to ISB. So this is again the same thing is valid over here, that if you are writing the test at a future date, then you cannot select that right now. You need to come back to this form to select that date at after you have written the test. Similarly, for TOEFL, you can select out of the test that you are writing, the test date, the scores that you have, that scores that you got, as well as the date when you sent the official test report to be sent out to ISB. Okay, so this brings us to the next section, which is the academic qualifications, 10th, 12th, and your undergraduate degree. Undergraduate degree, in this section, you have three options. One is undergraduate, one is your integrated program, that is the 5-year program if you have completed that, or a professional education like a CA or an ICWA. So for your grade 10, let's go to edit over here. So you need to add the board that you completed this from, the institution, the dates attended from to, and the percentage of marks that you have got. For the percentage or the CGPA, you do have a lot of options to choose from. So if it was a CGPA out of 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, let's say, or maybe a percentage of marks out of 100. So you can always mark out the relevant as per the the grades which are mentioned on your degrees or the final certificates. So according to the norm of your institution, you can add this portion, then add the country and the state, the city where you were when you wrote this test, and also there is a section about marking out the gaps. So if there was any delay or gap in your class 10th or between two courses, up till your class 10th, you can add that information here. If you are selecting yes, then you need to add a description over here as to what that gap is about and why. So you have a space to explain this particular anomaly in this section. So again, now for the grade 12, similar information needs to go in the board, the name of the institution, the dates attended, the percentage of marks or the CGPA that was awarded to you. You again have a lot of options to select from in terms of CGPA or the percentage of marks that were awarded. So you can mark it out according to whatever is written on your final mark sheets. And then select the country, city, town, and mark out any gap in education. So this gap is with respect to your class 12th or between 10th and 12th. So if there was any delay in your class 12th or there was a gap between your 10th and 12th, you can just select this option over here and give that relevant explanation. So our favorite button, preview and save and continue. Right. So from the dates that we have entered, we have an error over here. So application inspector, this is where it becomes very important. It from time to time when you're filling up the form, it will keep on giving you these errors. Okay, now comes the undergraduate degree, your professional education or your integrated program. So for the undergraduate degree, you need to add the years that you have pursued it. Was it full-time, part-time, distance education or online learning? What was the certificate awarded? And what was the major or the specialization? Any discipline that was finally, the discipline that goes in finally to with respect to the degree that you have got, and the dates attended. Again, the percentage of CGPA can be added here. So I've added a 6 on 7. So whatever, is the grading system your school has followed, you can add this particular information here. And then add your country, university, name of the institution. So if the name of the institution that you have graduated from is not entered here, you can just get in touch with the PGP team, write to them along with your transcripts, and they would be able to help you out with that from the backend. And if there's any gap in education within the bachelor's degree or between your 12th and bachelor's education, that also needs to go in this particular section. So you can write an explanation as to why their gap was there or anything, any other further, description you want to add regarding this. Also note that a lot of times people are, pursuing a degree and they are working as well. So you have to choose. Either you keep your full work experience as full time and your degree as part time, or you keep your degree as full time and your work experience as part time. This both of these cannot go on parallel dates. Otherwise, you'll receive an error and the form will not be submitted. So preview and save, and just check the information and save and continue. So this is what this section included. The next part of the education that you can add is any additional education. So any other certificates, any other programs that you have completed which do not qualify under undergraduate studies or graduate studies can come over here. That means your IT technical certifications on any part-time or distance education courses you have done can come here. So the option, you have options to select the mode of study. I selected online learning, then added the details of the course, where it has been awarded from, name of the institution. So if it is some institution which is not covered under this university over here, you can just add others. If this is a course which you are still continuing with, you can always select under progress. You just need to give the dates as to when you are expecting to complete that, and if the CGPA is applicable or not. So for a lot of courses and certifications, the CGPA is not applicable. You can just select no from here. And in case there are a bunch of courses and there is a gap, you can just add the gap, select that there is a gap between the courses and just add the reason for a gap, that okay, one was done after some months, so you decided to take it up after a few months. That is, this part is done. Let's go to the employment details. Employment details start with the most recent work experience first, and start with the most recent work experience first, and let us see what are the options that this particular form gives you. You will have types of employment: full-time, part-time, or CA articleship. Let's say it is full-time. And types of employment are full-time, self-employed. So if you're working somewhere else, self-employed, or you are freelancing. Otherwise, it can be divided into internship and training during your undergrad or postgrad, and after completing your undergrad and postgrad. So you can see where this experience qualifies out of these out of these 7 categories, and choose. So let's say that you are self-employed. We'll take up 2 cases. One will be self-employed and one will be full-time employment. So if you're self-employed, then you need to say whether you're working in more than one organization simultaneously. If yes, then just add the organizations you're working for. Is your current organization your family owned? If it is owned by your own family, please do mention yes over here and give an annual income. The name of the organization, the industry that you're working in, what is the employer activity. You have around 100 characters to describe what the company does. So if it is a new company or a startup or company that might not be very well known, you can always give in that explanation. Number of employees, the function. So there is a huge list of functions to select from. You can always select the one that is relevant to your role. And then dates of employment. Since this is my current job, so I'm selecting this is my current job here. And then looking at the dates of date when I started this particular workets, and then add the job responsibilities and initiatives and achievements during this particular role itself. So you have 2 separate categories. Add your job responsibilities in the first section. You have 100 characters for each line, and add any initiatives or achievements or awards or any special things that you have done during this work experience in the next 5 lines. At the country, select the state, city, and do mention if there is a gap between your employment and your education or 2 periods of employment. You can select yes over here and give a reasonable explanation for that. And add your reporting manager's details. An official email address is required here. So for the official email address, in case your reporting manager or the HR manager does not want that, or the company policy is does not allow the official email address, then you can take the corporate email address from the website for the HR manager's details. For the reporting manager's details, it is preferred that you ask him and add those details over here for the then. Okay, so preview and save and continue. This was one case of work experience. The second case of work experience is The second case of work experience is the full-time work experience. So again, add the company that you're working for, the industry that they work in, the employer activity. You have around 100 characters to explain what the company does, the number of employees, last designation, and the function that you have been working on, your last designation, of course, and the dates of employment from to, again, job responsibilities and initiatives and achievements. So if you're working in more than one organization, you need to select that and give the names of the organizations that you're working for. Otherwise, this is not required. And you need to give a reason for leaving this particular job because you have gone to another job, you've added another work experience. And another part of this information is the gap between the current and the previous. If there is a gap, then to explain that gap over here. Review and save and continue. This is how you add your work experience in terms of the uh, yes. So in terms of the main form, you need to add your total years of experience as on 8th of April 2024. You can calculate your total full-time work experience and add this information over here. Awards and activities is an optional section, but we'll still look into it. So this optional section gives you an option to add two things. One is awards, second is your extracurricular activities. So there are up to five awards that you can add and up to five extracurricular activities. And in terms of the awards, you can select from different categories like the academic or professional, sports, patents, fine arts, social service, or anything else. So others is also an option that is available. You need to give the year of the award, your level of participation. Was it workplace, college, university, local, at a local level or a club level, or at a district or a league level, or maybe a state, zonal, national, or international? All this information comes here, and then details of the award. You have up to 100 characters to give the details of every award that you have received. And similarly, for extracurriculars, you need to add the name of the activity, from to your duration of participation, level of participation, again, the review and save and continue. Okay, so there are two mandatory essays, one optional essay, and if you would have selected reapplication in the initial options that we discussed, then there would be a fourth essay that would be the reapplicant essay as well. So by this time, you will also have your essays ready. It is always good to have them on a separate Word file so that you can add it over here. You have a word count meter down here where you can always, keep on adding your content, and it will keep on warning you as to how many words you have used. You will not be able to add more than 400 words on any of these essays. The third essay, which is the optional essay, which will that will have around 250 words as the limit. So again, the same system, the word count meter keeps on telling you when you have reached the limit, you will not be able to add more than the permitted word limit in this case as well. So once you've added your essays, then come to the recommendation section. So when you are adding the recommender's name and email address, you just need one recommendation for ISB. Who can be your recommender? Your recommender can be anybody who has supervised you in, who has had visibility of your work in your. And as soon as you preview and save, there is an option to send the email to the recommender and continue. So when you check, when you press this button, this email will automatically go to your recommender. You can always connect with him, see that he has received the email. Otherwise, resend the recommendation from here. This will just resend this recommendation letter to the recommender. The form will go to him on the email, which he has to fill from his inbox itself. In case your recommender still does not receive it, do ask them to check their spam or their bulk email folders. A lot of corporate IDs do not allow emails directly. However, in case still it does not work, it is best to reach out to the ADCOM, the PGP admissions team, for resolution on this part. And do start the recommendation process early so that you have time to manage all of this and navigate this, and your recommender is not stuck in the end with not getting the link on time and not being able to spend enough time to fill in the details which the school has asked for. Okay, so there are a few scholarships that you can apply for from within your ISB form. Again, there are tuition waivers which are merit linked. These are offered by ISB, and there is no separate application that you need to fill, no essays that you need to write for this merit linked tuition waiver. It will come to you automatically if you are acing the application process and the interview process. All students, all applicants are considered for this particular process, so there is no separate application. Apart from that, you can select these options. You can select to apply to any of these waivers, and they have their own eligibility criteria. Whenever you are selecting any, please do go into the eligibility criteria and read it very thoroughly and see that you qualify. You will have to give proofs as required. So a lot of them, they do require the supporting documents and the proof of income documents for family members as applicable. So again, an essay is also required for these. Do keep these essays in mind when you are writing your, the application essays. Don't leave these for the last moment. These are only 200 words, but it is best to plan your whole representation to the school in advance. So preview and save and continue. Right. So the next section is the declaration section. There are a few questions which are more on the qualification part and more on the disciplinary action part. So just go through all of these questions, and if any applies, then you need to give in the reasonable uh, explanation for any for the ones that apply to you. The next section requires you to upload the documents. Initially, in the application instructions, you will find the instruction for the photograph. The rest of them also have to be looked into, and there is a file size which is required. So there are only a few documents which are mandatory, which is your photograph, your passport or Aadhaar, your GMAT or GRE test score report, your 10th, 12th marks, your undergraduate bachelor's degree, and proof of income for self. So your salary slips or your IT return, whichever is applicable, you can submit that. In case you are going for any tuition waivers, then you need to submit the income proof for your family members also as a mandatory requirement. So these are the documents. Images, JPGs, and the PNGs are not acceptable. Just put it in a PDF file and upload. This should very simply complete this section for you. Finally, the some additional information that you need to give out in case you have some specific requirement because of a physical disability. You can select this over here, and if there's any other requirement that you would have had or any mental health issues that you've undergone, you can add those things over here as well. Do add if any of your family members have gone through the ISB PGP. Finally, add the statement of application or integrity and upload your signature. So till the last time you had to take a printout, sign, and then upload it. This time you just have to select this box and upload your signature file. This brings you to the last section of the application where you do select your interview location. The interview location preferences are available from Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Mumbai. And for international applicants, you can select the virtual interview. So this is the information that you need to fill. Plus, if you have a campus preference, if you would like to apply only for the Hyderabad or the Mohali campus, you can select that option or just go ahead with no preference. Again, finally, you can look at the application status and always take a preview of the application so that you can take a printout, read through whatever you've submitted very clearly, and then go with the final submission process. So preview application is available on this left panel itself as well. You can just take a preview. It's a very lengthy form. Please go through it in a lot of detail and read through each of these things very clearly.